What's going on, guys? I'm as always Mr. Grimreaper 512, and welcome everybody to my channel, and welcome back to Mob Week. On today's episode of Back in Time, the 21st episode actually, we're going to take a look at the 1992 classic from director Danny DeVito. He also stars in this film. The 1992 biographical crime film, Hoffa. Now, this film was directed by Danny DeVito, stars Danny DeVito, produced by Danny DeVito, and was written by Dave Mamet. Danny DeVito's co-stars in this film is Jack Nicholson in the title role, Armand Assante, J.T. Walsh, and Robert Prosky. Other people who are involved in this movie is John C. Reilly, Frank Whelan, Nicholas Pryor, and Karen Young. Okay, so I'm gonna go through the plot, and then we'll talk about what happened. We'll talk about my thoughts. I'll give you guys my thoughts while I'm talking about the plot for Hoffa. So. The film begins July 30th of 1975 when Jimmy Hoffa and his longtime friend Bobby Sierra are impatiently waiting in the parking lot of a Roadhouse diner. Moving in vignettes from his early years when Hoffa was a Teamsters union organizer who was working to organize the various trucking firms and laundries around Detroit, Michigan. Hoffa's life over the preceding 4 decades gradually unfolds. In 1935, a young Hoffa approaches a parked truck, inside of which driver Sierra, played by Danny DeVito, is taking a nap. Hoffa pitches the benefits of joining the Teamsters and gives Sierra a business card on which he has written, "Give this man whatever he wants." A few days later, Sierra reports to work to find Hoffa attempting to organize the workers. Hoffa blurts out they'd ridden 85 miles together and Sierra was fired. Sierra later accosts Hoffa with a Bowie knife, but Hoffa's associate Billy Flynn pulls a gun and Sierra drops the knife. Sierra joins the pair in the arson bombing of a laundry whose owner has refused to cooperate with the Teamsters. Flynn is badly burned and dies. Sierra succeeds him as Hoffa's right-hand man. During a Teamster strike, strikers fight with non-union workers and police. They called these non-union workers scabs. Hoffa is taken to a local mafia boss, Sierra, who speaks Italian, comes along and translate. An alliance between the Teamsters and the mob is formed. Hoffa meets Carl D'Alessandro, which is played by Armand Assante, who would become his closest mob ally. Hoffa rises to the presidency of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. His illegal activities include the use of Teamster funds to make loans to the mob. Pardon. At a congressional hearing, Hoffa is questioned by Bobby Kennedy regarding his suspicious union activities. A loud and bitter feud between Kennedy and Hoffa grows, especially after JFK is elected president and Bobby becomes Attorney General. Hoffa, on a hunting trip with D'Alessandro, discusses ways to exploit the union's pension fund, having no paper with them. The plans are sketched on the back of a hunting license, which later on in the movie, it's going to bite him in his ass. Subsequently, Hoffa is betrayed by a junior associate, Peter Conley, who is played by John C. Reilly. Okay, where am I at? Who testifies at Hoffa's trial. The critical evidence against Hoffa is a hunting license on which the plans to raid the Teamsters pension fund were written. See, I told you. Hoffa surrenders to federal officials and serves time in a Pennsylvania federal prison while Conley's uncle, Frank Fitzsimmons, takes over as Teamster's boss. Sierra, also convicted in prison, is freed and immediately begins working for Hoffa's release. D'Alessandro suggests that the Teamsters endorse Richard Nixon for president, so that in exchange for Teamsters' endorsement, Hoffa will receive a presidential pardon. Hoffa gets out and expects to again run the Teamsters, but learns that one of the conditions of his release is that he is ineligible to run the union for 10 years. Hoffa meets with D'Alessandro and demands to the gangster that Fitzsimmons be killed, which resulted in someone wiring Fitz's car to explode. D'Alessandro believes that Hoffa is too hot and says, "I can't get close to it." Hoffa leaves with the matter unresolved. Sierra delivers a message to D'Alessandro that unless the matter of Fitzsimmons can be settled, Hoffa will go to the press. D'Alessandro says to tell Hoffa that everything's going to be alright. Sure. And they should all meet the next day at the Roadhouse at a remote diner. Hoffa and Sierra spend several hours waiting in the parking lot, but D'Alessandro never arrives. A purported union driver has been waiting for hours in the diner, allegedly for a part for his truck. He was bullshit. I know that. Let me see. Does exactly. Okay. Engaging Sierra in conversation, he is invited to meet Hoffa in person by bringing a cup of coffee to the car. The driver reveals himself to be a hitman as he draws a gun. Just exactly who sent this hitman is not revealed. However, the implication is that he is sent by D'Alessandro in retaliation for Hoffa's threat to go to the press. Hoffa and Sierra are gunned down in the parking lot. Several associates arrive and dump Sierra's body on top of Hoffa. Excuse me. They get in the car and drive it into the back of a large truck that had driven up as the shootings were taking place. The camera focuses on the roll-up door of the truck, showing the different state plates, implying a final bit of irony that the truck driver, in all likelihood, is a Teamster driver. And it's a truck that takes him away in secrecy. The truck drives off into the distance. Okay, so this film received a lot of mixed reviews. This film received a lot of mixed reviews, but the thing was the thing is this. And I wanted to talk about this during the review too, as I was reading. I think, back in the time, Hoffa was trying to run the Teamsters as like he was running a gang. These were a mob, and then they had to put they did a lot of stuff. They did a lot of illegal shit. After watching this movie, the stuff with him and Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy, was the funniest shit I've ever seen in my entire life. But it was also very serious too. Him and Kennedy had war words during that time. But I wanted to mainly while I was reviewing this, while I was reviewing the plot, I wanted to talk about the situation of his death, of Hoffa's death, the situation surrounding his death. Now, you guys remember at the beginning of the film, they started out in the parking lot, and then by the end of the film, they go back to the parking lot again. So, this is what I think. Many people have believed. Well, at least this is what I believe anyway, that D'Alessandro, you remember in one of the parts that when Bobby Sierra, Danny DeVito's character, he goes to deliver the message to D'Alessandro about the situation going on with Hoffa, with Jimmy, and about what happened, and then right before this, Fitzsimmons almost dies Fitzsimmons almost dies after his car is exploded. Someone close to Fitzsimmons dies. You can literally see this dude get blown away when that car gets exploded. And I think Fitz was an ass. I think Fitz was a piece of shit, to be honest, to do what he did to Hoffa. Hoffa got stabbed in the back, and all that. But that's my opinion on the situation there. But this movie, while many believe that it was a mixed bag of all kinds of different things, while many believe that it was a mixed bag, period, I felt like Danny DeVito worked on something that he should be proud of. Danny DeVito tried his best in this film. I still give this film, whether you call it, whether you did not like it or whether you thought it sucked, I still believe that this movie deserves a 10 out of 10. Danny DeVito and Nicholson, both these dudes, are known for their acting chops, and it shows. Hoffa, Jack Nicholson brought a lot to Hoffa's character. He brought a lot to the character, as in the form of what he was trying to work with. What Danny DeVito gave him, and Danny DeVito, for what he did in this movie, I commend both of them to a T, because both of them did exactly what they set out to do. They told a good story, whether some of which, this was a biography of the life of Jimmy Hoffa. And there's a lot of, and as many of you know, there's a lot of controversy surrounding the death of Jimmy Hoffa. Was the Teamsters involved? Was D'Alessandro involved? There was a lot of stuff going on. But what I did, but I gave it a 10 out of 10. I love this movie. I've seen this movie thousands of times. This is one of my favorite movies that I like, and because of the acting, because of the visuals, because of how Danny DeVito told the story of this guy trying to lead a revolution with his band of Teamsters, and trying to do what they needed to do to get back at the government who was screwing them. So that's what I got from it. But what do y'all guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. If you have seen this movie, let me know what exactly your thoughts on Hoffa was. That's going to be it for me. I'm Mr. Grimreaper 512, and I'll see you on the afterlife. Peace.